Welcome back to Talk Forsyth. I'm your host, Jeff Evans with J. Vincent Creative. Today, I am here with the illustrious Kim Wichalonis of Wichalonis Law, Wichalonis Personal Injury Law. How are we doing, Kim?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. So tell me, you've been in this game for a long time. How did you get into personal injury attorney?
Well, I wish I had some crazy story or emotional story, but I really don't. It started in high school with one of those career placement tests.
Wow.
And it said, you would be a good attorney or a librarian. Those were a couple of things that came up on my results, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that stuck in my head, and it kind of niched with my strengths. Like, I loved reading and writing. I've always been an avid reader. So got to college and kind of, did the experiment thing in college, went down a couple different paths. Oh, maybe I'll be this or maybe I'll be that. Actually ended up in management, got out of college, had a job in management, realized I absolutely hated it.
Yes.
And said to myself, you always wanted to be a lawyer. What happened to that? So applied to law school, got in. The rest is history, and I've absolutely loved what I've been doing. So I should have stuck with my first inclination,
Which was being a librarian.
Yes.
Very, very
Lawyer.
A very quiet career compared to being a personal injury attorney.
True. I don't know if that one quite fits my personality as much as probably being a lawyer. I'm very people-oriented, but I do love books, and I do love reading, too.
So where'd you go to college?
University of Tennessee, go Vols.
All right.
Oh, big Vol fan here.
Good. Yeah, so you wear a lot of orange.
All the time, unfortunately.
Do you have the checkers?
I do not have the checkered overall.
You don't have the checkered overalls?
That's one Tennessee item that's probably not in my closet. But I am dressed in obnoxious Tennessee orange every football Saturday weekend, for sure.
Of course you are. All right, so let's get into personal injury law in and of itself. So, there are lots of negative connotations, right, with personal injury law.
Absolutely.
Ambulance chasers comes to mind, right?
Yep.
And obviously all of the billboards that are all over Georgia 400, 85, 75. When you're leaving Atlanta to go down to the beach, holy cow.
Oh, yeah.
It's a new one every 2 seconds, and they all have ridiculous catchphrases and all that stuff. You're not that way.
I am not that way, but I do have one thing that I must admit. I have a confession.
Okay.
When I first went off on my own and started my own practice, I did do a billboard in Cumming, Georgia. I did one billboard. Yeah, I was. But let me tell you something. It got more response from my friends and neighbors.
Yes, it did.
Because it said, "Ever argued with a woman?" And so people were calling me all the time. In fact, I heard that a local church even brought it up about my billboard, "Ever argued with a woman?" Not in a bad way, but in a nice way. So that being said, I did do one billboard one time. Okay. But am I a volume attorney? I think that's more the question that you're asking me. Yeah. Absolutely not. That's just not my business model. What sets my practice apart is the personalized attention. My clients are like my family. I have clients that I keep in touch with years after their case is closed. They bring their babies by, to see me, and I love having that one-on-one relationship with my clients, because when you're going through something as traumatic as a car accident and injuries, you really need somebody by your side. You don't just need somebody who knows the law. Of course, you need that first and foremost, but you also need somebody who understands and is compassionate about the stress that you're going through, the recovery process, and dealing with insurance companies and health insurance companies and, medical bills. There's so much that goes into it. So I really like to be that listening ear for my client, as well as the legal advice, and have that one-on-one attention so that they're working mostly with me and not just a legal assistant or a paralegal. Most of the time, I keep my caseload very, very manageable so that I can be the one that's talking to my clients through the treatment process and keeping track of what's going on in their lives and how they're feeling and what kind of assistance that they need.
Yeah, that really does set you apart from the rest, is the personal attention, the fact that you actually care. There are a lot of, let's just call it like it is. There are a lot of male personal injury attorneys. It's a male-dominated field, and you come in and you're still a pit bull when you need to be, but you're also kind and caring, and you have a heart, and you really care about these people. This isn't just some sort of like paycheck or something else.
Absolutely, absolutely not. And I feel like my business actually does better when you're truly helping the client, and it's not, some cold kind of, I call it Wizard of Oz. Some people, when they hire an attorney, it's like he's or she's the wizard behind the screen. If you're not having that relationship and you're just dealing with other people in the firm. So when I'm advertising and I'm talking about, different things on social media, it's going to be me that you're talking to when you call my firm and when you go through the process.
You also have over 20 years of experience, if I'm correct.
I do, yes.
Yeah, so you've seen it all. You've been through it all. Anybody that calls you is like, well, maybe she hasn't dealt with this kind of case. I can promise you she's dealt with this kind of case before.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, what are some of the more interesting cases that you've had?
Well, initially in the beginning, it was very upsetting learning that someone had been seriously injured or had even died from a car accident. One of the things that stands out in my mind was this was at the very beginning of my career. There was a case where a couple of teenage girls were in a car and they were on their way to school, and there was a bug or a fly or something that got in the car, and the driver, went to swipe the bug and went into the other lane and hit a truck. Yeah, so cases like that really were very emotional for me in the beginning, and it certainly makes you have a heart for people going through something as horrific as that. But then again, there's the funny cases too, the things that's really out there. The lady who wanted to sue her husband's mistress, and believe it or not, that's a tort. It is a tort in 6 states. Unfortunately, not in Georgia.
Wow!
But there are 6 states that do allow you to sue someone.
Can you explain what a tort is?
Oh, thank you for
sure.
Yeah. So a tort is a civil wrong, right? Okay. So the best way to explain it is to say what it's not. It's not a criminal wrong. Okay. So if somebody runs into the back of your car and they were just looking off or they were distracted at the moment, that's not a crime, but it's still a wrong. They've done something wrong to you, but you can't put them in jail for that, right?
Right.
You can get money damages. Money damages is what you're seeking. Now, if they were DUI, that's also criminal and they can go to jail. But a tort is a civil wrong.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so 20 years in the business, super awesome lawyer. Oh yeah, you're also a full-time mom and wife to the same husband you've had for a very long time. So how do you manage this? I mean, we'll start with the kids. How many children do you have?
Okay, I have 3.
Wow, okay.
And they're all college age now or just out of college. So it's definitely gotten easier because they are older, but
they weren't always old.
They weren't. So rewind 20-something years back when I was the mom of 3 kids, all under the age of 6.
Wow.
Yeah. And, being an attorney is very demanding. So at the time, keep in mind, this was before a lot of the technology that we have today. But I did take some time off. I wanted to be a great mom just as much as I wanted to be a great attorney. And at the time, I just didn't see a way to do both. So I did leave for just a few years until my kids were in middle school. I took some time off. What I wished myself had known back then was that I would be going back, because then when you stop your career, you wonder, will I ever go back? Is this the end for me? I mean, I loved my career, but I loved my children. I just didn't feel like I could give both of them enough attention and do a good job. Mm-hmm. But the answer was yes. I mean, I have come back full force, a better attorney, having taken that time off, I think. And I think that the bottom line for me is you can do both, but maybe not necessarily both at the same time. I know that's not an answer a lot of people want to hear, but for me, it was the answer back then. Now, today, it's a lot different. There's remote work. A lot of people can work from home, so it might be manageable to be able to do both. But I wish myself back then had known, hey, you're going to go back. It's not the end. And in fact, you're going to go back stronger and more focused than ever.
Yeah, so you mentioned that. You said that you came back stronger and better than before.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? What changed?
Well, maybe life experience, but also focus. I mean, when the kids are young, they needed my full attention and focus. As they got older and self-sufficient, I could focus more on my clients. Not that my kids don't still need me, but it's not the same as
right.
So I really do think it's a matter of being able to have that focus and not pulled in too many different directions. And so I think if other women do that, a good thing to do is to, keep your hand in the field. That's the time to maybe volunteer for your local bar association or whatever your career may be, and something that's not requiring, demanding time, handling 50-something cases for my clients, but still keeping my hand in the law.
Yeah, I like that, keeping my hand in the field. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily believe that there's such thing as a work-life balance. I don't really... Something has to give.
That's exactly how I felt, and it's worked out very, very well for me. And you know what it did also? My husband had his own business at the time, and I feel like it also gave him the opportunity to focus on his business because he knew I was taking the kids to the doctor. I was doing the things, somebody had a sniffle at school and I had to go pick them up. He knew that he didn't have to leave his business. So he had built his business up, and when it was time for me to go back into mine, he was able to be supportive for me to start building my own business. So we did it at different times, but it's worked out.
Cumming power couple. I love that. What does your husband do?
He owns an insurance agency here in Cumming, Wichalonis Insurance.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Wichalonis around here. You learn how to pronounce that name real quick. What is the?
I can spell it.
What is the name? What's the nationality?
So everybody thinks it's Greek, but it's actually Lithuanian. And my husband has a great way of telling people how to remember it. He says, Wichalonis some money.
I like that one.
Right. And nobody ever forgets it.
That's so funny. All right. So hardworking mom, kids are in college, so it's a little bit easier. I'm sure it's still, kids are kids.
They are. They still need me.
Of course they do. They need their mom, but you were there for them, and I'm sure they're incredibly thankful for that.
I think so. I do think so, and I try to advise my girls, and when they're looking at careers and trying to decide, I tell them, well, keep in mind, it's got to be something that you can make work with family or take some time off with family. But bottom line, when you're thinking about your career, you're going to have to at some point think how family and other long-term goals are going to fit into that plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so your business doesn't just exist in the ether, and hopefully somebody will come find you. So how are you able to acquire clients at this point?
And again, I'm going to talk about my husband and two things that he did that I feel made him a very successful businessman. And one of them was in the way in which he got customers, okay? So direct face-to-face networking and marketing. I think I feel like I'm giving away a big secret right now because it really works more so than a billboard or a TV commercial. Getting out there in your community, getting to know people, whether it's networking groups, BNI, those are invaluable in terms of just networking, getting to know people, getting to know other people in the community, and you would be amazed at how much you're referred. Also, social media. Social media has been huge for me in getting clients, and I've never had to pay a penny other than maybe some networking dues for different networking groups that I'm in. I've never paid a penny for advertising other than that one billboard that, again, got mostly attention from my friends and neighbors who's alive.
And the local pastor down the road.
That's true.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Networking is a great way to get business. And I'm assuming as well that you get a lot of referrals.
I get a lot of referrals from the networking and from the social media marketing. So whether it's networking in person or networking online, it really works.
Okay, I agree 100%. What was I going to ask you? It's a good question. Shoot. Well, okay, so referrals work.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing works. Is there anything else that you've done, even outlandish, to bring in new clients?
I mean, definitely the most outlandish thing, I'm going to go back to that billboard and said, ever argued with a woman. To me, that was pretty outlandish, doing that. Mm-hmm. I've done some outlandish things for my clients, for sure. For example, I had an elderly couple who just could not, they didn't have the right kind of rental car for his walker, wheelchair, and their kids were all busy at the moment and couldn't get there to take them to get a different kind of rental car that he could actually fit in. So I drove across town and picked him up and took him over to the rental place. And so I think that is something that's definitely something unique to my practice. I don't know how many attorneys are going to drive across town and pick you up and take you to get your rental car.
No, not many, if any, besides you at this point. One thing that I learned recently that I was unaware of is that as a attorney, you are not allowed to reach out to potential clients, right? They have to call you. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. And there's a good reason for that.
Okay.
You were talking about ambulance chasers in the beginning of this. Imagine that, I could go stand at the hospital entryway, and as soon as people come in off the, ambulance, hi, do you need an attorney? And throw my cards at them. No, the state bar of Georgia, I think every state bar in the country does not allow that kind of contact with clients. And again, there's a good reason for it. So if someone's injured, I can't call them up. Now I can advertise or, send, have advertisements, but I can't call them up and direct market or solicit their business.
Right.
So I always make sure when I'm talking to other people or on my social media, say, if you are injured, give me a call. I will give you a free consultation. But yes, they have to reach out to me.
And with that said, how can people reach out to you, Kim Wichalonis?
Well, there's a lot of different ways. So you can go on my social media. It's Wichalonis Law Personal Injury on Instagram. Same on TikTok. My website is wichalonislaw.com. And then my business line is 888-677-3885, which also is 888-SETTL, SETTL.
Oh, okay. Okay, I will like that.
Right.
That's a little cheesy, but it's good.
Yeah, I know.
You're a lawyer. You have to do that.
Agreed.
Well, all that information will be in the show notes if you're watching this on YouTube or on Spotify, because it'll be there as well. If you have any questions for Kim, please reach out to her. Okay, she's more than happy to have a free consultation.
Absolutely. There's no obligation to hire me, and all you can get is free legal advice. And so I would love to talk to you even about the smallest matter, if that helps your situation.
Awesome. Well, thanks for watching and or listening, depending upon where you're doing so. And thanks for being on, Kim. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.